Welcome to the podcast where we take a deep dive into the stories behind construction business leaders. We will share how they got started, how they found success, and the lessons learned along the way. I'm your host, Eric Fortenberry. Welcome to Builder Stories. Welcome back, everybody. Today, I'm here with Janel Swanson, who is the owner of Wildwood Kitchens and Baths. They're located in Lake Elmo, Minnesota. She was just recently at one of our job trade events out there with Anna and Riley and had such a great time. Heard about the podcast, wanted to come on. So I'm so excited to have you on, Janel. Welcome to Builder Stories.
Hey, Eric, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So why don't you give us just a little bit of a little backstory? I mean, who are you? How'd you get into construction? And what do you guys do?
Yeah, Janel Swanson with Wildwood Kitchens and Baths. We are a design build firm out of eastern suburb of the Twin Cities. So we service the whole metro area, focusing more on the eastern side, but traveling everywhere around the cities. We basically, long story short, is we moved into an old farmhouse about 10 years ago, and it was original to its 1912 inception, and just couldn't stand the kitchen, and right away just went to work demoing it without a plan. At this time, I was a stay-at-home mom. Previously, I was in business. I had a business degree, did the corporate thing for a few years, discovered that wasn't my cup of tea. Went back to school to be a teacher and was a teacher for a few years. And then when my second child out of 4 was born, I decided to stay home with my kids. So moved into this house about 10 years ago, and was a stay-at-home mom at the time. And like I said, we ripped our kitchen apart. My husband at the time was a contractor flipping homes. So we did have resources in terms of helping us putting it back together. But during this process is when I really fell in love with the whole process of remodeling and designing kitchens, because that was the main focus of our renovation was the kitchen. So during that time, we were getting cabinet bids because our kitchen was demoed. We had no cabinets ordered or designed or anything. So we ended up becoming a dealer for one of the cabinet lines through this process. I ended up designing the kitchen. I came up with many different configurations of it. Just loved the process, loved trying to piece it all together and figure out what went where, use the spec book from the cabinet manufacturer to try to figure it all out. It was stock cabinets, so trying to being restricted in that way. Got the cabinets figured out, installed, everything was great. And now I had this cabinet line that I'm like, might as well try to sell cabinets, like realizing what a good markup it can be. So I started selling cabinets on Craigslist and did that for like a year successfully. And just drawing freehand, just shipping out cabinets to people like all over the Twin Cities area. After about a year of that, I realized it's something I really love to do. My youngest was going to kindergarten. I knew I wanted to go to do something. I loved teaching, wanted to go back into it, but after being away for 10 years, so much had changed with technology and everything, discovered that there was a kitchen and bath certification program in my community at the local community college. So signed up, got my certification there, and then opened my own business as a kitchen and bath dealer. Initially just selling cabinets out of my home, basically. So like my house was my showroom, which was not ideal, having 4 young kids and 2 dogs and trying to keep it clean. It was not good, but eventually I opened a little showroom in a neighboring town, outgrew that, opened another showroom, outgrew that, and now we're at what I call my forever home, where we're at now in Lake Elmo. And so during this process, people always wanted the installation, the construction to go on with the cabinets. So probably after a year or two, probably 2 years after just selling cabinets, I realized I'm leaving a lot of money on the table here, like not doing the rest of the work, right? Just sending them to a contractor to do the work. So I got my general contracting license and became a general contractor with our network of subcontractors through my husband's flipping business. We had that was to my advantage. I had people that were willing to step up and do the work. So that's how I got into construction.
That's awesome. I love when things get created from a needs basis. And it's like you did this for yourself in your own home. And that's how you fell in love with the whole trade and being able to figure out that you could become a dealer, started or getting more materials, you started selling it, and then going back, getting a little bit more training on it, and then becoming getting the full GC license. That's an awesome path. I love that you truly did this out of a passion. And I think ultimately that's one of the things that I see with the most successful entrepreneurs is like they genuinely, at the end of the day, they love what they do. And there's going to be so many challenges throughout the whole process. But like when you know that this is like truly what you want to do, and you're not, there's obviously a lot of other factors, and you can make good money and you can have your own lifestyle. But man, the passion I think is so important to have that. And it's really cool to hear that you've got that at the roots of this whole business.
Yeah, 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 I agree. It's very important, and I love what I do. So definitely was
So
the right path to go on. I finally found after 3 tries. This is my 3rd career, and it's finally I found it. Like, this is what I love to do. So,
yeah, no, it's interesting. I hear a lot of people say they spend a little bit of time in corporate America and working that standard desk job, if you will. But it's a lot of people realize that they don't like that, and they prefer to either get out there and do something with their hands or be able to work directly with people or whatever it may be. So it's awesome that you're able to find your own path, and it seems like it's really served you well. And now you have even more appreciation for what you're doing because like you understand some people are always wondering, was the grass greener on the other side or not? You already know. So that's pretty neat. I I'm curious, is your husband, is he still doing the home flipping? Is he still doing his own thing, or is he now working with you?
he's not working with me, never really has. He would just provided he just had the connections. But
Gotcha.
yeah, he does his own thing, so we don't
Yeah.
work together too much. He'll help out often. So right now I'm in between project managers. So he steps in if I need help with client meetings or sub walks or getting material, checking on subs. Like he steps in when I ask him to. So he's been a
Yeah.
great support in that way.
You know, that was great that you're able to tap into that network to find those initial subs to work with you, because I know that it's often a big challenge of people is trying to figure out, like, how do I find people to help me? Where do I go? Do I go to the local Home Depot or the Sherwin-Williams and just stand outside and find people? Do I post ads? I think the fact that you found a network and a place that you could tap into, and obviously they weren't just totally cold either. There was some sort of a referral that we knew that these people did good work. That's often a challenge for a lot of people. So great job finding that and tapping into that.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks. Yeah.
What's your team look like today?
So today it's myself and then I have 3 designers on staff, a bookkeeper and a lead carpenter, and the rest I sub out. And then in the process of looking for a project manager. So
That's
right
great.
now they're doing a lot. They're doing the sales, they're doing the estimates, or they're going to the consultations, doing the estimates, doing the sales, doing the selections, the design, and currently they're even managing their project. So it's a lot. And they're doing a great job. They're amazing.
Yeah,
So yeah.
that's great. So it sounds like early on you also took on the design aspects and just figured out how to do that. Is that what you're saying?
In terms of designing kitchens or designing spaces? Yeah.
Yeah,
So initially I was just hand drawing. And then when I went back to school for kitchen and bath design, I learned a CAD program, Chief Architect. And then each of my designers also went through either an interior design program or the kitchen and bath program at the local college here. And everybody has Chief Architect now and uses that. So we're able to
that's awesome.
create the floor plans and the elevations and the 3D renderings and the 3D renderings, of course, are what all the clients like to see to really help visualize what their space is gonna look like.
Yeah, I again, I see a lot of people that they either just don't do the design at all, or maybe they outsource it. But like it seems like when you're able to incorporate design into the process, it really is a great tool to help the end customer be able to visualize what would this look like, and it lets you give them a couple options without having to get in there, build it all, and find out, oh, they didn't actually like that. Have you seen that? Like having that, basically, you now have a team of designers in house. It sounds like they're also doing a lot more than just the design, but has that been really instrumental to helping you accelerate getting people comfortable and willing to sign and become a customer?
Definitely, I think having the ability to show them that visual, and also so we initially will give a ballpark estimate, and then we if they want to move forward, we enter into a design agreement. So that's when we spend the time working on developing the layout and the renderings and putting all the pretty things together. It's nice being here in a showroom where we have access to all the materials that will be going into the space. Usually what we do for when we want to present the design to a potential client is we'll put ideas together, materials together, the cabinets, countertops, tile, flooring, paint, just and plumbing fixtures, put it all together for them so that we have a starting point and then we go from there. So we have a one-stop shop basically where we can guide clients through selections and then also implementing those selections once they do make those decisions to show it to them and what it will look like in a 3D rendering. So that's definitely been a huge selling tool to get to that final contract sale.
Yeah, that's awesome. So for this design agreement, so obviously you're charging for your design services.
Yeah.
Is that
Yes.
what I'm getting
Mhm.
at?
Yep.
And then a lot of people I hear there's like, do we charge for it? Do we not? Or how does that design consultation fee roll into the project? Is that kind of just hey, we're going to work with you on the design. And then after that, here's the final project, or do you credit it in there, or does that get included? Or like, how do you handle that?
So that is something that we recently changed. We were collecting like a retainer and then we would apply that to the project if they move forward. And if they didn't move forward, we just kept that as a, a deposit or we just kept the money because of all the work that we put into it. Recently, we changed it where we don't credit the contract price. That's the design fee. And then
Yeah.
so it's a separate transaction from the final contract.
Yeah. So if they end up just taking the design and everything that you've given them and either, don't want to move forward right now or want to move forward with someone else or whatever, I mean, at least you guys aren't out, that time and
Yeah.
money. And I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
that's great. So so let's say, a new lead comes in, what does that initial process go and how quickly do you try to get them into the showroom?
So typically, we actually almost always go to their house first. So we try
Okay.
to book an appointment right away as soon as we can. A lot of times a lead will come in, there could be any one of us answering the phone. So we'll try to make an appointment. We have the schedule on job tread so everybody can see what everybody's doing, what the availability is. So a lot of times we'll just work with the homeowner, find out what time works for them, put it in the calendar, and then we'll talk about it. Who has the capacity to take another lead right now? And then that person gets assigned the lead. And then depending on the scope of the project, like we do try to qualify the leads a little bit before we take the time to go out to the house. But one thing I will say is the majority of our leads are within like a 10-mile radius of our shore. We've been really lucky, 20 miles, but usually within a close, probably 95% of our work is like really close in our community. So it's not too much of a burden we're not driving an hour to go to a consultation that we don't know if we're going to get or not. So we don't have a problem typically going to a house to do a consultation. Cause like I said, we're just doing, a ballpark estimate. We're not putting a ton of time into it. And then if they want to move forward, we do the design agreements. But going back to that, we do try to qualify them too. So get an idea whether or not their budget is in line with and if it's in line with what the project is probably gonna cost. So we try to get that out of them before we waste either of our time.
Sure. And how often do you find that you get into it and they go through the design process, but then they don't end up wanting to move forward?
Not very often. I'd say
No.
once we have a design agreement, almost I'd say 9 out of 10 will move into a contract.
That's great. So that must mean you've got the ballpark pricing dialed in to the point that we're either gonna we're in budget or out of budget at that point, and let's make that call then, and doesn't hopefully you don't get strung along
Yeah.
to ultimately later be told actually we can't afford this or whatever.
Yeah, I feel like our ballpark estimates are pretty accurate. We've come up with a good template and job tribe that's really helped us like have formulas in place and margins in place so we know where we need to be, where it's going to make sense and then it's usually within maybe 10% give or take, but I'd say the biggest unknown is the trades. So after we get like, the design deposit, then he'll conduct a trade walk with our subs. And then we'll get more nailed down numbers and also with the selection process, if they want Cambria versus granite, that's gonna be a price difference. So we try to get all those decisions made during that design agreement phase so that they know this is what their project's gonna cost, and it's usually, like I said, pretty close to that ballpark that we had originally gave them.
That's great. Do you ever get into it though and have to use change orders or the scope changes, or are you guys able to really nail it down in the design
No,
phase?
we do. It seems like every job there's change orders, some more than others, but I'd say that's usually because of things that nobody could see. A well is removed and we didn't know there was a vent in that well. It was
Yeah.
random and didn't make or it just or plumbing. There's usually surprises when you open up walls or take out soffits or things like that. So often we'll have change orders for things like that, the unforeseen. And then there's other situations where the customer just wants to add to the scope, which is great. And so we'll
Yep.
issue change orders for that too. And occasionally, I shouldn't say occasionally, but we try to get as many selections taken care of prior to the final contract price, but sometimes we move forward without the tile backswash being chosen or whatnot. So if it's something that's outside of the allowance that we have given them, then that'll be another change order.
That's great. And so I'm curious how when you give them an allowance and then obviously if they make a selection that's over the allowance, that's a change order and they're going to pay the difference. But if they make a selection that's under the allowance, how do you handle that situation?
So we're transparent with our materials. So how we do our estimates is we do labor as a lump sum and then materials we itemize out.
Yeah.
So we tell people like this is just a ballpark allowance, like middle of the road type of product. If you choose something more expensive, obviously you're gonna be paying more money for it. If it's less expensive, then we would credit that amount. We would,
Gotcha.
yeah. So if the allowance is $1,000 and it only costs 800 our cost, then we would give them $200 credit for that.
Yep. And how long, like what's the average duration of these projects for you?
So it's gonna vary a lot depending on the project. We do a lot of kitchens and baths. So a bathroom is typically 4 to 6 weeks. A kitchen usually around 12. We do whole home remodels, so that obviously that's gonna add more to the timelines depending on the scope, maybe around 6 months to a year.
Okay. And how many jobs are you typically running at one time?
That can vary a lot too, but I'd say on average around 5, probably. Yeah, you've
I
been up to 20, but I'd say typically it's between 5 and 8, like, in flight construction projects, and then we'll have others that we might be working on the design part of it, and the production hasn't started yet. So,
Sure. How far out are you typically having to schedule people?
probably, like, a couple months. It's not too bad because I feel like we have enough resources, enough people who can if our kinda in-house guys are busy, then we have other companies, like business to business companies that we use that we outsource stuff.
Yeah. I'm curious, where do you feel like most of your leads are coming from? How are people finding out about you? Is it your
Um,
website, word of mouth? Are you running ads?
yeah, and that's one of my struggles right now is figuring out like the best way to market. So that's something I'm also working on right now because I haven't really done much paid marketing. I do run Google ads. I'd say the majority, but I I do it myself. I just do the pay per click. It's not
Yeah.
I I think I could be doing it better, but I'd say the majority of our leads come from just a Google search or internet search. And
Yeah.
then we do get a lot of referrals and a lot of word of mouth too.
Yeah, that's great. I know the advertising, that's its whole it's like a whole nother ball of wax there trying to figure out that and then having to manage it and monitor it. And you can very quickly, I'll never forget my first business. I was like, hey, let's go figure out this Google ad thing. And I threw, it was like a $5,000 budget in there per month. And I just, or actually, I don't even know if I had capped it, but I think I had just started the ads. And then I like I forgot about it. I watched it for a week and then I don't know, something happened, forgot about it. And I logged back in a couple weeks later and I had blown through the whole $5,000. I was like, wait, I don't have a single lead to show for it. What happened here? Like I was expecting all these customers and leads to come in, and I know it can be a very tricky thing. And we've worked with many people who've some of them better than others. And I think that when you really figure out that right kind of ad and targeting and the keywords, like it can be very successful. And especially with the local presence and being able to target just an area can be huge.
Yeah, I think that's one of my next steps is hiring a marketing agency to help me with that. 'Cause like
Yeah.
I said, I've just been doing it on my own and it was great, like, the last things were busy right after COVID, and now things have slowed down. We're still our pipeline is fine, but just to increase those leads, I know I'm to that point where I need to hire some outside help with that.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it. It sounds like you've gotten the business to the point of where you are today, which you're doing great. I've seen kind of awesome traction and progress, but to take it to that next level, that's where I would recommend, yeah, finding somebody who is a professional at just that. And I know there's a lot of marketing agencies. Some of them will do the whole thing, and then some people just focus on Google ads or just Facebook ads. And so I think it's great to interview a bunch of different people and say, hey, so tell me, how will you define if a campaign is successful? How will you work with us to show us the progress we're making? Are we looking at this weekly, biweekly, monthly? What do you think the customer acquisition cost could be? Like getting some sort of way, sort of common set of questions where you can interview a couple different firms. Obviously, on the job trade marketplace, we have some great partners who can do all this. But I think it's important you find the right partner for you and your business who's got that experience of doing the local targeting, local advertising. And I assume you have a Google My Business profile set up already, though,
Mhm,
too.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, that's another great tool. Just continually feed that thing, just
Yeah.
uploading photos just like it's your social media. I think that can be really powerful.
Yeah, and I forget to do that. It's another reason to hire someone.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so interesting, like seeing how it's like the more you feed Google, the more it rewards you. It's feeding it on all fronts, adding more content to your website that they can index and crawl, adding more photos to your Google My Business and running ads. Running ads is a great way to just like instantly say, hey, Google, I'm here. And they start to you a whole lot more actively, even if you end up cutting back on your ads, like you still created that awareness for them, which is really powerful.
Yeah, I'll have to check out the marketplace. I haven't done that yet for marketing, so I'll take a look at that.
So I'm curious, when you think back over the last several years running this, like what would you say have been your biggest challenges building this business from the ground up?
I would say probably just, I guess the biggest thing is just not having a construction background. So that's like I said, luckily I've been blessed to have, excuse me, people in my network and community that have taken on that role of leading a job and doing the construction. So I haven't, but that it's also scary because me lacking that knowledge, I'm putting a lot of trust in that person that they know what they're doing. That's probably been one of my biggest challenges, and then another is just trying to do it all myself. For 5 years, I didn't have any employees, it was just myself, so I was doing literally everything, my books, the organic marketing, the marketing, social media, calling clients, just everything, going to the consultations, doing the estimates, project managing, doing the schedule. So, definitely just trying to do it all myself was a big challenge.
Yeah, no, I mean, you've defined the typical entrepreneurial journey. Let's put on all the hats. Let's do whatever it takes. Everything is on your plate, and I think it's interesting, kind of seeing though obviously you were successful. You made it happen. You got to the point where now you're able to afford to have a team of people and continuing to grow the team. Early on, it's your back is against the wall, and you have no choice but to just fight and keep going. And you made it happen. But you certainly, I'll go ahead and make the assumption you very much appreciate having a team of people that are able to help you and offload some of those things.
Definitely, and I would say that was one of the scariest things for me as a business owner, like, hiring my first employee. Just I hadn't really thought about it, I just thought I could do this all myself, and I guess, yeah, that was a big move for me, just taking that leap of hiring someone, like an actual employee, not a sub, but an actual employee that I have on my payroll. But that was probably one of the scariest decisions I made, but also one of the best decisions that I made.
How did you know the time was right?
I had been just burnt out, struggling, like, just working, like, around the clock, and I knew I needed help. In my mind, I thought I could just hire, I don't know, like, a virtual assistant or someone just part-time sub, like, for some reason, I was just afraid of just the unknown, like, what's it gonna
Yeah.
look like to hire an employee? But my first hire, she actually walked into my showroom, not this one, the one that I was in before. She had just moved from about 4 hours north of where I am, and she had her own kitchen and bath business, construction, same thing, design build up in where she
Mm.
lived, and she moved because she just recently got married and closed her business and was looking for an opportunity to work with the same cabinet line that she sold up there. So the timing was, like, perfect because I was, like, drowning in work, burnt out, and then she walked in, and I was like, "Yeah, I think I need to do this." And she was, like, the perfect fit. So I ended up hiring her reluctantly, but hired her, and it was the best thing I could have done for my business because she had I feel like if I had hired somebody like a new designer or salesperson, like, I wouldn't have had time to train them, but since she had owned a company for 20 years doing the same thing, she just it was like she was like a clone of myself and just did everything. I didn't have to train her, so it was great.
Yeah, that sounds like the perfect hire,
Yeah,
perfect fit for you.
yeah, it was great, and then since she had experience doing this, like, she was a mentor to me too, so she was able to answer a lot of questions that I had, and it was just nice having someone else to bounce ideas off of and ask questions, and I finally had someone I wasn't on this island all alone anymore, so it was great.
Yeah, no, again, I see people all the time that they've spent years just going at it alone, not realizing that, hey, there are others out there that I may be able to get to join forces, or even just joining local communities and groups like I'm not sure if you're part of like your local NARI chapter or some other kind of local meetup type groups. I think being able to get involved with others who are going through the same thing can be really helpful. And that's what we love about the Job Tread Pros community. Just it's like all these people we're all going through that same grind, that same process at different stages, but being able to just have that support group. Did you find, had you been doing networking, like, meeting with others and
No, at that
anything
time, I
like
was
that?
in my own little world and just so head down in my business, just trying to, like, just
Mhm.
grind, right? And I feel like I waited way too long to start networking and joining those groups. Now I'm a member of NARI and the NKBA and Housing First, which is a national home building association in Minnesota, and then part of Facebook groups, the Job Trade Pro group. So now I'm involved with all these communities, and it's been really helpful. And hindsight, yeah, I wish I would have known about it or taken
Well,
time to just look into those communities because 'cause they've been very helpful.
yeah, and you talked about feeling like you didn't have as much of the construction experience, and that's been a challenge for you. Obviously, I think you getting your GC license, and you definitely gave yourself some formal training and education there, and on the job experience, I think is the best way to learn things. But when you think about continuing to build out your team, you mentioned that you're looking for a project manager right now. What are you looking for in them, and do you see them being able to really bring some of that construction experience to the team?
Yeah, that is my hope. I feel a little like it's a little bit out of my wheelhouse. Obviously, I've been doing this for almost 10 years now, so I've learned a lot along the way, but there's still a part of me that just feels uncomfortable some of the situations we get in, and I'll ask for outside help because it's a big liability being a general contractor, and so many things can go wrong. There's so many issues that can arise and that do arise. So having somebody that has a deeper, more knowledgeable construction knowledge more than myself is definitely something that I'm looking for. Maybe somebody that's been on the tools for many years and now their body is sore and they don't wanna be using their hands anymore. Somebody like that, I think that has that that knowledge, that firsthand knowledge would be a great fit.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that'd be awesome, and I think some of the things that I've learned over the years, it's very important to make sure you find the right people. Don't just take the first person that comes along because you need any warm body in the seat. Go through the process of spending time with them. We do big kind of team interviews, like where they'll come in, they'll first meet with the one person, and they come in, and it's like a group interview where it's like all the people, because we want to make sure that they're going to be a great fit for the team. And I know I have a tendency to just get really excited and feel like, yeah, the energy's good, but that can at times be a blinder. And so you need to have other people that can help make sure, ask those tough questions, make sure I'm not missing something. I was talking to someone the other day too, and they said that they actually have anyone that they're going to bring onto their team. They'll actually bring them in for a few days. They'll pay them, but they have them for a minimum one day where they're like working a full day with the team. They're out there in the field. They can see then how do they interact with the other team members? How do they interact with the client? Does this feel like a good fit? Do we think that they've got the right experience? Can they handle these types of situations? Because obviously, this day and age, ChatGPT can write a beautiful resume that will just be not anywhere close to true or accurate. And so you got to figure out how to get under the surface to figure out, do they have that right skill set, and is this someone that I trust and want to bring onto the team?
That's a great idea to do a trial version, a trial employment period. I like that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, when you're doing just like a 1 hour interview or bringing them in just for a couple hours in a day, and it's just still that interview style, it's hard to break down those barriers, right? Like they're in presentation mode, they got their game face on, but like when you spend an entire day with someone, it's okay. Now that you've been on your feet for 6 hours, how do you feel? Are we still energetic? Are we still excited? Or are we getting a little bit worn down? I think it's important to take that extra time and, like I said, pay them for the day, pay them for however long you can get at them to just have that trial period. I think it's a really great way to just confirm the decision before you have to go all in on it.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, especially too, just seeing how they interact with the rest of the team because that's really important since we're such a small firm, just making sure everybody gets along. He adds to the company culture, or he or she, and instead of changing the dynamic too much, and also how they interact with the homeowner and
Yeah.
any issues that arise and how they handle those issues. So sometimes it
Yeah,
might take
I'm
more than
curious.
a few days, but
Yeah, absolutely. It's again, however long it takes. I'm curious though, when you think about the culture of your company, what are the things that you value most and you're looking for? Your core values. Do you have that defined?
yeah, I do. Just collaboration is really important to me that everybody is supporting each other. If there's questions, not being afraid to ask, and just everybody trying to help each other out, not just within our team, but also with vendors and subs and people out in the field and homeowners even. And just like everybody just trying to help each other out. And then also just communication and just making sure we're transparent as much as we can be. Also, integrity is important, being trustworthy and honest. You say you're gonna do something, you do it. Those are the main core values I would say that we have.
Yeah, that's great. And what do you do in regards to trying to do the team building? And do you guys have regular team meetings? Are you doing, you know, outside of the office events or meetups or things like that?
We do, we have a team meeting scheduled 2 weeks, or sorry, 2 days every week. A set time every twice a week, we meet as a team. I also try to we have our annual Christmas party for, like, our team and subs and trade partners, and then usually, like, at least once in the summer, we try to get out on the river on a boat or something like that and do a team activity. I do wanna start incorporating more, maybe once a quarter, but that's what we have right now. And then
Yeah.
when the times are right, like, we've gone to the kitchen and bath industry show together. One of my designers and I went to Job Connect together. The whole team went to Spain last fall to visit Cosentino in Almeria, Spain, so that was very fun. That was a good team bonding experience. So, when the opportunities are there and it makes sense, just taking advantage of opportunities like that as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's incredible. I've never heard of anyone taking their entire team over to Spain. Yeah. How do I join the team?
Yeah, it was a good
Yes.
experience.
Yeah, that's great. So, when you think about where you want to take the business, what's the longer term goal? Where do you want to see the company in the next 5, 10 years?
Yeah, I'd say I don't see any other way other than scaling and improving because that's just me. I have a growth mindset. I always want to be learning and evolving and never just plateauing I just always looking to grow and get better and improve, becoming like the go-to kitchen and bath remodelers in the area. Another kind of vision I have is the showroom that I have now, I purchased during COVID, and it's split into 2 sections, so it worked out really well in the beginning because I was able to rent the other side out to offset the mortgage payment. But I'd like to get to the point where we can take expand and take the whole space and create a larger showroom and eventually collaborate more with builders and other remodelers and designers and get more into the design aspect of it. Still do the construction, but have more of our focus be like designing and cabinets.
Yeah, that's great. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for you to find other builders and contractors that you can partner with. That could be a great lead source and a great opportunity to be a partner with them. And maybe they're bringing you deals. You may be bringing them some deals. I think there's so many opportunities. A lot of times people I see them feeling my neighbor is my competitor and I can't talk to them and we're competing on every deal. And there's you got to have the abundance mentality of, man, there is enough work for all of us. And if we work together, then we can help everyone benefit and ultimately deliver a great product and really elevate the game for everyone in the industry. And I think that's just looking for those opportunities to partner and collaborate. A lot of people who, again, you've got that design horsepower, partnering with realtors, with people who they've got a customer who's about to buy a home but doesn't love the kitchen. If they can bring you into the whole mix and say, hey, look, we could get that done and let's roll this remodel into the whole process. That could be a great way to find additional leads for you.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Mhm.
That's great. Look, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing everything. I'm curious, like when you think back, is there anything in particular you wish you would have known when you started the business that you now know that maybe might help someone else out there who's earlier on trying to get their feet under them, or just any kind of general advice that you might have for others?
Yeah, a lot. A lot of things. One thing, like I already mentioned, delegate early, so you're not burning yourself out, and then also network, collaborate with others, and then the biggest thing for me was establishing establishing a system and processes. For the longest time, we were doing a schedule on a whiteboard and taking notes in a notebook, and things getting lost and customers getting upset, subs being on job sites and not having access to plans or even knowing customers' names or phone numbers, and just details getting lost because we didn't have systems in place. So that's been the biggest game changer for us, was finding a project management system through JobTread where we can now just have processes, be organized. We have our main schedule. We have everything in one place, and we're trying to incorporate as many things and get rid of our Google Docs as much as we can to have everything in that one central hub of JobTread. And you guys do a great job at providing a lot of the nuts and bolts of what we need, but also having partners that, that partners that we can collaborate with too for those integrations that might be needed for our business, not necessarily that another business would need. So it's nice that it's versatile and you can reach out to those other partners in the marketplace to integrate to make it good for your business. So yeah, I'd say that's one thing I wish I would have done a lot sooner, was have a system where we can keep everything in one place.
How did you, what led you to go and say, I need to go get something in place? Was there like just some moment, or how did you have that realization?
Just like a lot of things falling through the cracks. I said just disorganization and subs being on the job and not having plans or not having a scope, not having specifications. Just we knew that we needed something, but we didn't know what. So we did try some different CRMs out there. We tried Builder Trend. It was just like too much. It was too confusing. It was more than we needed for the size of our team and our business. So we did go through a few different trials and of different programs, and finding JobTread has been such a lifesaver. It's perfect for us. So yeah, just having that one central communication hub too with the clients and the subcontractors and designers, like everything is in one place, and it's just been a lifesaver.
That's awesome. Obviously, I love hearing that. But I think at the end of the day, it's great advice for anyone out there, especially if you're starting your business off. It's all about building the right foundation for you to scale the company. You got to be able to have the systems, the processes in place to then be able to bring people on. If everything's in your head and you're just doing it all and you haven't documented anything and you don't have any tools and training to provide others, then it's a lot harder to be able to build that team. And everyone has this epiphany at a different point in a different moment. Whenever you can, being able to set yourself up for success will ultimately really help you in the long run to be able to build out the team and the business and make sure that you're hitting your profit goals and your numbers, like you're operating how you want this business to go, versus just being very reactive and selling and churning and doing all this work and not understanding why you're not making any more money. It takes getting organized and putting those things in place that will help you ensure that you are going to hit your goals.
Yeah, that's
So I
been
think
one of the biggest, factors for me too, just, like, finally understanding my numbers, which JobTread has allowed me to do. It's just so easy to see looking at the budget versus actual numbers, how it's set up. We can look at the dashboard any given day, and you can see like where your budget is compared to what you're actually spending. It's been great. It's just really helped me understand my numbers so much better.
I love that. And I hope everyone else out there can learn from these experiences and from hearing how Janelle's talked about. She went at it alone for so long and wishes that she would have been able to build the team a little bit earlier on and not have to kind of stay so siloed, because that's such a common theme that I hear with entrepreneurs. Like, you're just heads down grinding, and sometimes you got to take a step back, come up for air, look around and say, hey, are there others out there that can help me? Can I learn? Can I join a community? Can I collaborate with partners? There are people that can help you. And oftentimes, look, as a leader, our job is to make sure we get all the right people around the table. Like, we don't have to do everything ourselves. And oftentimes, if you want to make sure that you're doing everything great, you're gonna need to trust people. You're gonna need to build a team or find partners that you can trust, and give them very specific roles and responsibilities so that you can execute on that and you can build a very successful, very profitable business. But you got to put all the right pieces together, and you got to have that foundation. So I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and your journey going through this. It sounds like you've worked very hard over the last several years, and you've gotten a great team built now, great foundation. You guys are continuing to grow. I can't wait to see you get that project manager in there that can bring even more experience and kind of hopefully provide a little bit of relief to the rest of your team. Is wearing all the hats. It sounds, and it's a great problem to have, right? I'd rather have everybody too busy than not busy enough. And it's just exciting though to see what you've been able to accomplish over the last several years, and to hear about your goals and where you want to take the business. I can't wait to see the success that you have in the coming years, and I just appreciate the opportunity to be one of your partners here and just along for the ride to see you making it happen.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I have immense respect for you and the company that you've built, and it's an honor to be a guest on your podcast. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Builder Stories. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and gained valuable insights that can help you in your journey along the way.